The Harlan Ranch parking rules video. Today, this video has been put together in order to give you an overview of Harlan Ranch parking rules. During this video, please pay particular attention to your area in which you live in Harlan Ranch so that you can be familiar with the parking rules that apply to you. If you would please read the following disclaimer to yourself before we go on to the next slide. It is important to remember, primarily there are two types of streets within Harlan Ranch, public and private. On public streets, these streets are delineated by sidewalks, and the parking rules are enforced by the City of Clovis, versus private streets, where there are primarily no sidewalks, but just rolled curbs straight to the street, and the association has the authority to enforce the CC&Rs by towing or fining any violations on these streets. We will now move on to community-wide parking rules. These parking rules apply to both public streets and private streets. Recreational vehicles. No trailer, motorhome, camper, boat, or other recreational vehicle shall be parked, kept, or permitted to remain within the development unless it is not visible from the street or common area. In other words, enclosed within a space. Note, the Architectural Review Committee could make an allowance. Please contact management to see if this is at all possible. Recreational vehicles cannot be parked on a private or public street or driveway for more than 24 hours. Periods longer than 24 hours must have prior approval from the association manager. Please do not email the association manager the day of or the day before. Prior approval needs to take place, therefore you need to allow the proper time. No recreational vehicle or equipment may be used for living purposes while located within the development. Commercial vehicles. No truck, van, or commercial vehicle shall be permitted within the development except for such limited times that are necessary for deliveries, the performance of maintenance repairs, and other similar situations. Please note, the term truck, van, or commercial vehicle shall not include sedans or standard size pickup trucks or vans which are used for both business and personal use, provided that any signs or markings of the commercial nature on such vehicle should be reasonable and inoffensive as determined by the board. To receive this accommodation, a letter from the company stating the dual use must be on file with the association manager. Condition of vehicles. No dilapidated, unsightly, inoperable, or abandoned vehicles shall be parked, kept, or permitted to remain upon any area within the development unless completely enclosed within a garage. No excessively noisy vehicles are allowed to be operated within the community. In addition, no vehicles including scooters, motorcycles, or other motorized vehicles will be operated within the development that emit a foul smell or offensive exhaust. Vehicle repairs. No major vehicle repairs or maintenance of any kind may be made to vehicles within the development except for emergency repairs as are necessary to remove the vehicle from the development. As a side note, if the association management notices any excessive oil dripping on a private street, the homeowner where the oil is found will be notified to see if that can be remedied. Minor types of vehicle maintenance and repairs are permitted within the garage of the residence. Washing and waxing of vehicles is permitted within the development. Garage usage. So long as all the residents' vehicles are capable of being parked within the lot's garage, one garage parking space may be utilized for personal property storage or other non-vehicle purposes. In other words, if you have a 3-car garage, one of the bays may be used for storage. The other 2 spaces need to be utilized for parking your vehicles. Each garage door shall remain closed. The only exception to that is if you are actively outside in your garage doing work. Parking your vehicle. Primary. Residents shall utilize their garages as the primary parking location for their vehicles. Secondary. Residents may then park vehicles on their driveways, provided the garage parking bays are first utilized for vehicle parking. No vehicles may park on landscaping, i.e. the lawn or the flower beds. Additional parking limitations will be specified in each cost center section, as will be seen in the upcoming slides. And finally, community-wide parking rules. We have rules and enforcement. The Board of Directors shall have the authority to adopt further rules and restrictions regarding vehicles and parking within the development that falls within their jurisdiction. Fines. The Board of Directors shall have the power and authority to fix and impose fines for violations in accordance with the California Civil Code 1363. Homeowners in violation of the parking rules or whose household members, tenants, contract purchasers, or guests are in violation of the parking rules may be subject to a fine up to $500 or have their vehicle towed at their expense. Towing. Vehicles found in violation will be given 2 warnings on their vehicle before the vehicle is towed. Please note, once 2 warning notices have been given and the violation is repeated within a 12-month time frame, the car is subject to automatic tow schedule. Vehicles parked in no towing zones and fire lanes will be automatically towed. Now you will see in front of you a map or an overview of Harlan Ranch. You'll notice that the areas within Harlan Ranch are color-coded. On the far left, you'll see something stated as cost centers. Each of those color-coded areas fall within a certain or specific cost center. Please see where your home lies on the map and see which cost center applies to you. We will now cover each of the cost center and see the rules that apply to that area. First, we'll take a look at the public street parking. These are the ones that are shown in yellow. Residents living on public streets must abide by all City of Clovis parking rules. In addition, residents are also required to follow the Harlan Ranch community-wide parking rules, as was just stated in the previous slides. Now looking at private streets, we will first look at the Watson Cost Center. Please note that these are the ones highlighted in blue on the map. Private street parking is guest parking only. Guests are not permitted to park on the street longer than 2 consecutive days or 7 days in a calendar month without prior approval from the association manager. All guests parking on the street must park in front of the home they are visiting. Vehicles cannot extend more than 8 feet from the curb. Vehicles cannot block driveways, extend into fire lanes, or into non-parking zones. Continuing with private streets, we'll move on to the alley load cost center. As shown on the map, these are the red areas. No owner shall park on or otherwise obstruct the streets or other areas within the neighborhood that are designated as no parking areas. No vehicles may be parked in the alleys at any time. We're going to look at the Barkley Square and Vantage 2 cost centers. Please note that these are the ones that are shown in purple. Private street parking is for guest parking only. Guests are not permitted to park on the streets longer than 2 consecutive days or 7 days in a calendar month without prior approval from the association manager. All guests parking on the street must park in front of the home they are visiting. Vehicles cannot extend more than 8 feet from the curb. Vehicles cannot block driveways, extend into fire lanes, or into non-parking zones. We'll move on to the Capri Court Cost Center. Please notice on the map that these are shown in orange. Residents are permitted to park 1 vehicle on the private street in front of their home, provided that their garage is fully used for the parking of vehicles. Note, each tandem garage is only required to have 1 car in the garage. Resident parking is not to exceed 2 consecutive days without prior approval from the association manager, meaning that you must move your car at least every 2 days, i.e., when you're going to work. Guests cannot park more than 2 consecutive days or 7 days in a calendar month without prior approval from the association manager. All guests parking on the street must park in front of the home they are visiting. Vehicles cannot extend more than 8 feet from the curb. Vehicles are not permitted to park in the authorized auto courts, fire lanes, or non-parking zones. Vehicles are not permitted to park in solid waste pickup areas on the designated trash pickup day. And finally, the Elevations Cost Center, which can be seen as marked in green on the map to the side. Residents are permitted to park one vehicle on the private street in front of their home, provided that their garage is fully used for the parking of vehicles. Please note, each tandem garage is only required to have one car in the garage. Resident parking is not to exceed more than 2 consecutive days without prior approval. That means that you do need to move your car, i.e. to work, and not leave the car standing for more than 2 days in a row. Residents are not permitted to park vehicles in guest parking stalls. Guests cannot park for more than 2 consecutive days or 7 days in a calendar month without prior approval from the association manager. All guests parking on the street must park in front of the home they are visiting or within guest parking stall markers. Vehicles cannot extend more than 8 feet from the curb. Vehicles are not permitted to park in fire lanes or in non-parking zones. Vehicles are not permitted to park in solid waste pickup areas on the designated trash pickup day. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you have additional questions, please email the management staff or refer to the CC&Rs located on the Harlan Ranch website.